What's up, deal makers? We just finished Ask Alex 97. This week we had on Leka Devatha, and this was an incredible conversation. She's up in the Pacific Northwest, a really competitive market, just like LA. And Alex, I know we had some big takeaways today.
Yeah, she's an absolute amazing guest, amazing investor. I've known her for a couple of years. She covered how to burr property in this current market, how she's sourcing deals and building these relationships with wholesalers. And she covered how she made $1 million on one deal. Watch it to learn. Let's go. Hey, what's up, deal makers? Man, we got a host for you today. I'm sure we got an amazing interview for you today. Let me see if I can get my man Will, my co-host. I'm excited. I'm sure you guys have seen, but Leka is joining us today. She's an incredible investor, super successful, very go-giver. She has a lot to teach you guys. We have some amazing questions lined up for her. So I'm excited for this one because she's somebody I respect tremendously. We got my deal maker. Look at you, blue tape in the back and everything, bro. Is this guy a deal maker or what? Give it to this guy. How are you?
Live here at one of the properties, but I'm really excited for this one. Like you were saying, Alex, I think, Leka is a very successful female entrepreneur, investor, and this should be a great conversation. I know we're going to let people kind of trickle in here over the next couple minutes. In the meantime, while we do, for you guys who are already in the room, I see some familiar faces and a couple new ones. But let's go ahead and use that chat feature, and you can go ahead and chat in. Let us know where it is that you're tuning in from, what market you're from, where you're investing, and then if you are on social media, if you have like an Instagram handle, go ahead and drop that in there as well. That way we know where we can find you and where we can stay connected with you outside of the webinar today. I know we'll have a lot of people joining in later on YouTube, and you guys will all be able to kind of connect afterwards in the Facebook group as well. But in the meantime, Alex, kind of give us a quick update, like what's been going on with you, man? Where are you at? What's up?
Yeah, man. So I'm in Hollywood. My house here is done. So this is my office. I've got the headquarters up in LA, Hollywood. I'm not too far from the one of my favorite places in the hiking in LA in Griffith Park. So I'm super pumped. I've been very productive this last week or two because now I feel settled. Starting to get my routines back for living here. So I've been getting a warm welcome. I just had an amazing lunch with somebody in the there's a boutique hotel, amazing place to go eat at right next to my place. And so we went there for a business meeting that turned into a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm back here at the property. What else? I've been starting some new routines. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Getting Things Done, but I'm always obsessed with how to be more efficient, how I could have less stress, especially when you start working on more and more projects. You got to have organization. So I'm implementing a lot of that right now. So I'm proud to say that I'm making some progress. I've been studying it. It's just a methodology, I guess, to be more efficient and having like an inbox, a dedicated place to put your notes and the reference. And then also just, is there another action for this, or is it something that you just got to get back to later or delegate? So working on that. I had some quality time over the weekend. My brother's having another baby, so he had a baby shower out there in the Simi Valley area, so that was kind of cool. But also going back to like the team, we hired 2 new virtual team members. I know you and I have been working really hard to kind of ramp that back up because we were short-staffed, so we were feeling a lot more pressure, a lot more work, and now to kind of onboard these couple of virtual assistants, that's gonna be great. Our project management assistant, needs an assistant because we got several projects, and then also we have somebody helping out with the bookkeeping and some of the organization stuff. But also more on the profitable side of things, we have hired 2 new acquisitions managers. They're getting onboarded, they're getting trained. So we're excited about having them begin making offers at our new formulas. Also still out there, we see opportunity out there, but you guys just make more offers. You got to look at more opportunities. Right now, there's more disagreement in the market, so it's harder to lock up deals. So that's kind of something that we've been experiencing, and now we are kind of back revamping and restructuring the acquisitions department. And I just want to give a couple shout outs to the team. Carlos has been doing a great job. He's our project manager out in Arizona. Well, he's in LA, but he's going to Arizona a couple times a month. Managing that property.
Project is coming around really nice, right? He's doing an incredible job out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So just want to give him a shout out because he's been a great addition to the team, and super valuable to have him out there, boots on the ground. We trust him. He's executing and providing all the proof of all the stuff we're doing. Rehab those 18 units is our biggest project, our biggest asset. And so to have somebody in charge of that, that's just a rock star, it just feels good, man, to have that, right? And then Eliam also, we just say shout out to him because he's our acquisitions manager here. He's the only one that we kind of kept as far as acquisitions on board. So he's been leading the charge with Antelope Valley stuff and helped us also get that headquarters out there, the office house that we're getting. He's been helping out a lot on that project. And then lastly to you, man, just for just being a rock star partner and then closing on your duplex. I know you're over there and it's been stressful for you, even though you don't want to show it, but I know it is because I've been through it too, and getting these properties rehab and then moving, from your apartment to another one and still getting everything done. So shout out to you, Will. Thank you for always, being there, right? And then just, I guess the last couple of things is we've made a lot of progress also with some of the private lending opportunities that we provided recently for people, because since we've grown, we also are tapping into more of a money partner, so we can kind of grow our wealth alongside other people. And so that's also had a lot of success in the last couple of weeks, because we don't really actively look to raise capital unless we do see some genuine opportunities out there that we can provide for other people to, put some money to work that they're not, currently using. So that's all I got. I'm excited to talk to Leka today about what she's working on and all the cool stuff she got going on. And then, I know you and I have some selfish questions, and I know the audience is going to have some questions for her. So without further ado, let's see if we can bring on Leka. Is she in the building? I know Abby had to maybe step out.
Yeah, no, she was having some network issues, but I think she got everything resolved. She should be joining us here on screen any time now. Again, I'm really excited for this conversation. Like you said, Leka's been doing a lot of big projects, a lot of different projects, and we'll kind of talk about the scope of those and, how she kind of chooses those and gets into them. But this should be a really fun conversation today.
Yeah, man. So Leka just so you guys know, she's a real estate investment broker based in Seattle. I met her, it's 3 years ago now, I believe, or might even before. She left, her corporate career. She was doing that path, and then she became an investor. She went kind of all in on that. She's the president of Rehab It Homes, and the company's focused on residential redevelopment. She also, make sure you check her out. She also hosts a really cool, it's a monthly meetup, if I understand, or a monthly virtual meetup. I think, yeah, she's had some rock stars people on there. She's worked on hundreds of transactions, developed over 100 million in real estate, and she's just an absolute boss babe. So welcome, Leka. What's up?
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I did meet Alex, I think in 2018 at Brandon Turner's mastermind. And I can't even tell you guys how amazing it has been to watch his growth from the first day I met him to today. All the struggles he's had and how he's come through them, building a team, going through project after project, just all the things that he's done, and all his growth has just been like, every time I see him, I'm like, I am so impressed with how far you've come, because we all start somewhere, but like where we go from there is up to us.
Yeah, exactly. And a little context there was, I was, really one of the smallest, if not the smallest fish in that group, right? And I felt a real responsibility to perform and to grow and to become someone, that I knew I could become, because I had so many mentors and people like you to look up to and to lean on. And I know there was several times, I remember when I was in Hawaii for the first time, and I leaned on you to help us with the project management and some of the stuff we're working now. These were valuable connections that were made at that classic and that now, very infamous group of people, because we've all kind of stayed in touch, and it's just been a pleasure to also see you. I mean, you were already a rock star. Now you just grown into the superstar and even more. And so the respect is mutual, 110%.
Oh, thanks, Alex.
For sure. Well, Will, I know we had some stuff we want to talk about, but I think we wanted to get into your story, because really this is about you and what you can help our audience. We have a lot of newer investors, people that are also kind of somewhat intermediate, and I'm sure that we also get some people that are advanced, and then some of your network. But people that don't know you, why don't we talk about your story a little bit quickly so we could give some context on that?
Yeah, Leka, I was going to say, I know Alex gave a brief introduction, but if you don't mind just kind of giving a little quick recap of your story. I know the audience would love to kind of hear who you are from your mouth instead of just from Alex's.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So my name's Leka Devatha. I actually grew up in India, and I moved here in 2006. And I worked a full-time W-2 at Nordstrom Corporate. And I honestly loved my job. Like there was nothing that could keep me back from going to my job every day, just loving it, enjoying it. I worked with high fashion, you know, it was kind of near and dear to my heart. Then I had a baby in 2012 and I was like, I gotta do something more with my life. Like I have to do something that inspires me to get out there and to fight. Because when you have a baby, I don't think much else inspires you to like wake up every day and to actually go to a job and kick butt, unless it's something that you're truly passionate about. And so I was like, okay, what is it that I'm passionate about that I can say I'm excited to go do, no matter how difficult it is. And real estate just fell in my lap, literally fell in my lap, because I didn't know what that next step was going to be, but I was driving to work one day and I heard a radio ad for a company that was teaching people how to flip homes. And I was like, what does that even mean, right? Like, what do you mean flip a house? Never heard of it. That concept was alien to India. In India, you just tear a house down and you rebuild, you know, bricks and everything. And so it was kind of like bizarre, like, okay, what is this concept? So I started digging into it. I joined a program. I started to educate myself. And I think about 2 months since that radio ad, I quit my W-2 and started diving into real estate full time. And within 3 months of me quitting my W-2, I had my first deal. And that the rest is history.
Awesome. I love it. Love it. I know
there's a lot of people on this call right now that are probably in similar shoes, right? They're, you know, maybe they have that 9 to 5, you know, maybe they've started a little bit of education, started to kind of dabble and get their feet wet.
Yep.
But how cool, right? 2 months after figuring out what flipping a house means, what investing in real estate means, and you go full in, and then 3 months after that, you know, you're locking up your first deal. That's pretty incredible, right, Alex?
Yeah, and so I'm curious, just like, what was that deal flow like? Was it like you just did a couple the first year, and the second year you kind of doubled up, and then I know they're bigger spreads in the Pacific Northwest. Can you maybe break that down a little bit? You know, because there's always like that rapid. I think there can be some different growth trajectories for different investors.
Sure. For sure. Yeah. So that first deal was actually an accidental full gut remodel. I thought I was going into a cosmetic flip. And then once I started to open up the walls, there was mold damage, there was dry rot. And then I was like, okay, let's just open it all up. I, mind you, had no construction background or knowledge at all. And so every day I would go to the job site and I'm like, one day I asked my contractor, I'm like, why isn't the drywall up yet? And he goes, because the plumbing and electrical are not finished. And so I was that green. I just didn't know the process. And so every day I went to the job site and I learned, and I just started to build that good foundation. So that first deal took me about 5 months. One thing is I didn't want to start another deal till I'd finished my first deal. I know a lot of people like go into it and say, okay, I can do 5 deals at a time because I have the money, I have the resources. I mean, that's great, but a lot can happen on your first deal and you have to go full cycle. Everything from buying that deal to fixing it to then selling and closing on it, right? Till you close it, there's no guarantees. And so like going through that process, I wanted to do one first. Then the second year, of course, I got cocky and I did 8 deals, out of which I only made money. I mean, I made money on maybe 7 out of 8 deals, but not a lot of money. So I was like, okay, how do I fix that, right? And the thing about this is every deal teaches you experience, some kind of experience. And if you don't take that experience into your next deal, you're leaving a bunch of money, of learnings on the table, right? You're going to make the same mistakes over and over again. So the thing for me is always like, okay, when I finish a deal, I sit down and just do a deep dive into what did not work and what worked. And I still do that to this day. Every December, I sit down and I'm like, okay, how do I change my business going forward? Like actually by October, I have a sense for what I'm going to do differently the next year. And so that following year, I did 8 deals. The year after that, I did, here's what happened. So the year after that, I was very pregnant with my second child. And so I only ended up doing 2 deals because I was physically like not available to do more. And I ended up making more money in those 2 deals than I had ever made money in my Nordstrom corporate job or in my real estate career until then. Because what I learned was more is not more. Sometimes less is more. Doing 8 deals, running helter-skelter, like not knowing which direction you want to go in and not having enough time to like put into any of those deals made me make less money. Going in and buying 2 deals and giving it my best made me a 6-figure profit on each of those deals. And I was like, this is how we should do deals. Because my first project was a full gut remodel, that kind of became my niche. I was like, okay, I am not going to buy a project unless it's a full gut, because on a cosmetic deal, the spread is so thin that if the market shifted, you don't end up making as much money. So I was like, okay, every deal has to be a full gut. So there was a minimum 100K spread, and it just gave me a lot of room to fail. And so I started doing more and more deals with all of those. So then my next year, I did 11 or 12 different deals. But that year, I started analyzing deals even more differently. I said, okay, if I'm only going to do a few deals, how do I look at it from different exit strategies to maximize each deal? And I ended up doing lot subdivisions. I ended up doing additions. I ended up holding properties and really not just growing my active income, but also focused on growing my passive income. And then the following year, I think I did like another 15 deals. And also I became a real estate broker. And just as a broker, like I became a broker to be as a benefit to myself, but then people started using me to buy and sell homes, help them fix up homes. And I think I've sold about 30 million in real estate just as a hobby.
Well, oh my God, I love it. I want to unpack this a little bit though, because there was a lot too. But I think what I see as a common thread throughout your journey though, is that you looked at the results and then you continued to make adjustments based on those results. And then you kept, that was a theme that kept on recurring. And because of that, you were like, okay, well, I'm going to get better. I got to do it this way. This is not making sense as much. So, I mean, it's, I guess every end of year, you're reviewing how much money you've made, the deals you've done. Was there, I would imagine also along the way, you were starting to attract or to, hire mentors or be around other people and network. I guess that's another part, unless Will has another question or someone else to ask a question. I'd like to know kind of along that journey, who helped you like make these better decisions, adjustments? Was there additional help there?
Yeah. I think that was going to be my question, because obviously, like you said, like you learn your lessons, right? The lessons that you took from each deal, you're stacking those and you're taking those next lessons into the next deal. But was there anybody else along the way that was like, hey, you know what? Because Alex and I, we call it, the post-mortem, right? When we look at the deal after the fact and we're looking at this thing, and then that really does help us, similar to you, like, okay, let's double down on this. This really worked out. Or, hey, let's cut that property out. Like, let's not look for those anymore. Was there any other kind of like, voices in your head that were helping guide you towards these bigger flips? Because again, usually people tend to steer away from the heavy rehabs, especially when they're newer in investing. And for you, it was like, hey, this is my niche. I want to do this.
Yeah. Shout out to Esther, who's here. She has 8 kids. And if you guys don't know Esther Reeses, like go find her on Instagram. She's amazing and a force to be reckoned with. I don't know how she does this with that many kids and a full-time job. So shout out to Esther. Okay. So, yes, absolutely. I 100% have to tell you that you have to go and seek out your mentors. Seek out people that are doing something at a higher level than you, always, and see how you can be of a resource to them, right? From the very beginning, I always found mentors that I could be a resource to, that I could somehow help, who in turn had my back. So from the very first deal, like I was talking to a guy that flipped 30 homes in my market. And he would walk properties with me. He would give me great advice. He would show me tricks. He was a great direct mail, like, guy. Like he would send out amazing letters. He would get on the phone and call people. Like he was just really good at sourcing deals. So I learned a lot from him. Then I had the absolute pleasure of winning actually at an auction. Thatch Wins Time. And if you guys don't know Thatch, you should go follow him on Instagram, first of all. But luckily for me, he's in my city, in Seattle. So when I met Thatch, I just basically like, so I ended up meeting Thatch for lunch. It was the best lunch ever. But then he invited me to come be part of his Springboard to Wealth, which is like a mentorship program that he does. And while I was sitting there, it was time for lunch. So we ended up having lunch and he and I sat on the same table. And for some reason, on a whim, I said, Thatch, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would it be? And that advice changed my life. He basically said, hold everything you buy. Hold everything you buy. Everything you buy from the lens of, I want to hold on to this property to increase cash flow, to increase my equity, to build my net worth. And I was like, holy shit, like I never thought about it that way. Never in a million years. Like I would buy a property.
You were thinking flip, right? You would learn that one flip a house. You'd never done this in India. You were like, I didn't know I could flip it and hold it, right?
Right. So I just didn't like say, okay, fine, I am going to flip this property, use some of the profit to go hold a property, right? Because I just kept flipping, putting all the money back in my business. Absolute worst way to build you can create income, but you can't build net worth, right? You can't build a legacy doing it that way because you're never going to have enough profit, enough money, because you're always working actively, that you're never going to have enough time to save that money to build passive income. And so honestly, like that was like life-changing advice for me. And that helped me start thinking about holding properties. And today I own a 40-unit portfolio in the heart of Seattle. And if you guys know Seattle, it's like an LA market or a San Francisco market. It's a heavy like tech West Coast market. So it's expensive real estate. And I own 40 units right here, in addition to syndications and whatnot in other parts of the country. And it's all because of that.
I really want to say something about this though, Leka, real quick. Just hold that thought. The main thing is that people get confused. Like flipping properties is to make money, but if you're going to make that much money, you need to start keeping properties. And that was always my goal. I mean, that's why we bought the 18 unit in Arizona. We're holding 9 other properties, you know, predominantly in Southern California or Hawaii. So, you know, it's not, people got that confused, especially at the beginning of my journey. People were always like judging, saying, you know, things. I'm like, look, you don't even understand. I want to hold a lot of real estate, but I need to be able to hold real estate. You do also need to make money and park money in deals. Is that not correct? Right. And so, so it's amazing advice. I completely agree with it. But you have to find a way to, because he always also talks about that you need to be able to make money. And Thatch is a big proponent of making as much as money as increasing your income. So that way you can hold more and more real estate. So dude, what an amazing portfolio. So yeah, I love it. I mean, I want to hold everything I can too. It just, some houses are like, you know what, this is not a keeper. I'm flipping this one.
No, sometimes it's not. Like with the high interest rates, the rent, you know, it's just not a good, I mean, you can, if you put 300 grand into it and like left it there, but you don't want to do that, right? That negates the whole purpose. The best way to hold properties is by burring deals. And we can get into some of that. But there's 2 questions in the chat and I was going to, or 3, and I was just going to run through them.
Let's answer them. Let's jump right in. Let's give the attendees a response.
Yeah, I was just going to even ask it, as you mentioned it, like Milton is asking, can you burr in this market? And I think that's a great question to answer, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is, how do I source my deals? I am the worst direct mail campaigner out there. I do not know how to buy deals directly from the seller. Well, not that I don't know, but I don't have the energy or the efforts or the inclination to buy directly from a seller, to do all the campaigns, to answer phone calls, to go look at properties. So what I do is I network with wholesalers and other real estate brokers and professionals who bring me amazing deals. They have done the research. They have walked these properties. They have packaged it nicely, with a pretty bow, and there's still a lot of meat left on it. And those are
They know that you close, and they know that you do the heavy fixers, so they know your buy box, right? So
my buy
instead of
box.
you having to go find that needle in the haystack, they're bringing you all the needles, right?
Exactly. And honestly, like I've stopped buying deals from every wholesaler that sends it to me. I honestly have like 2 or 3 wholesalers that I've started buying deals from, and those are the only people that I buy deals from. Like I have one person that brings me high-end flips. There's one person that brings me like more buy and holds. There's one person that brings me multifamily. That's it. When they call, I answer. When they send me a deal, I'm like 90% likely to close on it. They and I have worked for a long time together, and so we have a good track record. That's one. Second, can I still burr in this market? 100%. I ended up buying a deal on a Zoom call, which is a really funny story, because there's a local Seattle meetup that meets once a week on a Thursday. And I just happened to go to this meetup for about 15 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, a guy comes on the screen and says, guys, I have this amazing wholesale. Seller doesn't want to put it on the market, but he will in a week if I haven't sold it. If you guys want it, like I can, if you want to buy it, then we can do this off market. And like, I'm listening to all this. He said, it's a 700 square foot home. It's a 3,000 square foot lot. The lots next door were all redeveloped into modern boxes that were worth like 700-800K. And he said that this home would rent for about 1,500, and it required about $5,000 in renovations, right? Super cosmetic. So I'm listening to all this, and I was like, okay, I think, it's probably, and I know the area that he was talking about. I was like, okay, it's probably going to cost about 300,000. So then he comes on the screen and he says, and this is one of the wholesalers that I buy from, so it's my guy. And so then he comes and he says, seller wants 200K. 200K. I was like, what? What is going on? There's 45 people on this call. Not one person responded. And so I said, okay, I'll buy it. Literally on the screen, I was like, Jake, I'll buy it. I sent him a DM. I said, send me all the paperwork. He was like, really? I said, yeah. So like literally on that Zoom call, he sent me all the photos, the cutest house. I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. So within 6 hours under contract, bought it for 200, put in 5K. Guess what? It rented for 2,300 a month. 2,300.
That's 800 more than you had budgeted for, right? So that's incredible.
And then my lender, when I went to refinance a property, was like, was that an arm's length transaction? Because it was such a good deal. And here's another tip for you guys. The way to burr properties also in this market is by doing a heavy rehab, by forcing equity.
You're forcing enough appreciation that you can, refi, right?
You can refinance at that larger price and get some cash out and, actually hold the property for no money in.
Yeah, so I know there's more to this story, isn't there?
So property? Yeah, okay. So I ended up buying the house, and today it's like worth about 425, and rents, are at 2,400. And if I put in some effort into actually getting a permit to build a modern box, then I could sell it to a builder for a little bit more, 550. And I bought this place for 200K about
in a webinar, in a Zoom,
on a Zoom call, on a Zoom meetup, just like this.
That's wild, right? And 45 other investors, passed on the deal. And I think that's why having that, extreme market knowledge, can really help you. So I love that.
You have to know the neighborhoods that you want to be in.
Like the back of your hand, right? You have to know every turn, every corner, every nook, every cranny. Alex has zip codes memorized. It's crazy. I'll talk with him and he'll be like, oh, is that
that's another example. This house that I'm in right now, that I got a monster deal, was because I seen the zip code and I said 900. I won't say the zip code, and I'm like, wait, how much? What zip code? buy it. I want it. Lock it up. Send me the paperwork. Exactly how you said is why.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's a monster deal. We bird it. I still have a ton of equity and an amazing house in Hollywood, but it's crazy. Like if you know your areas, right opportunities. And the wholesaler made $50,000 on this property, and I was happy to pay it. And I couldn't believe, I'm like, how did he get such a good deal? And how did he not know what was in his hands to sell it to me for that price? It was crazy.
It's
but
insane. It's insane. You got to know your market. Like, like 45 people didn't know their market. And I'm on Zillow and Redfin every single day, whether I'm buying in that market or not, just keeping up with the market,
What are other people selling for? What are things going for?
Talking about deals, I know there was a deal that you highlighted, you talked about in the Bigger Pockets podcast when you were on there. Do we want to talk about your 7-figure deal?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how did you make $1 million on a property on one deal? Tell us.
One deal, right?
One deal.
On one deal. Okay, it wasn't easy. So I ended up buying a fixer from our good friend James Daynard back in 2017. And I buy lots of properties from him every year. And this is just another flip that I bought from him. And I said, okay, I'm going to put in like 100K. I'm going to turn a $50,000 profit, hold this thing for 5 months, and I'm happy, it's a good deal. Remember, this was 2017. So then I buy the property, and the very next day, I am doing a neighborhood drive around, and I see that there's a big plaque in front of my neighbor's lot that said that lot was being subdivided. And I was like, what does that mean? So I went to the city and I said, okay, can I subdivide my lot? You guys, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, I had a frog in my throat. Anyway.
All good.
So I went to the city and they said, yes, I could subdivide my lot. So that started the process of subdivision. What I did was I still flipped the house that I bought and rented it out. So my rent covered my mortgage. I converted
and we'll call that what, like parcel A, right? So parcel A still has your house on it. That's the house that you still bought. That's part one.
Fixed it up. I converted my hard money loan into a conventional loan. And back then it wasn't at a high interest rate of 6 or 7%. We were still at under 3 or 3. And so my rent was able to cover my mortgage. So that's done. Now I own this property essentially with no money of my own, because had the house, fixed it up, flipped it, had a renter, move in, property was leased. Then going into the subdivision itself, it is, I think, one of the hardest things that I've done in my life, because it ended up, what was going to be a 1-year subdivision ended up taking 4 years to subdivide. I also did all the horizontal construction on this property. So I brought in all the utilities, sidewalks, curbs, the dry utilities, like all your cable and all of that, your wet utilities, like your water, your sewer, all of that. So it was a process. So went through the process, and along the way made many mistakes, learned from my mistakes. And then in 2021, so last year, I ended up selling the house for $1 million and each of the lots for 500K. And I bought the whole thing for 570. So made a pretty nice profit.
That's a nice profit on that one.
Wow,
those are good numbers, right?
Wow. Yeah, no, I know we want to talk about that because things change with deals, and I think that's a maybe important point to highlight on that is that over time, you could get new information, and so something you've already purchased, something you already own, could be redeveloped in a different way. There could be a different play with it. But kudos to you for going out there, driving the neighborhood, doing more investigative work, seeing what you really have on your hands, but then also going through the other process to learn, and at the same time look at what that you got paid a lot of money, but you also learned a lot, and I imagine that can help you out in other deals in the future, having gone through such a lengthy process. So I'd say there's several deals that kind of come to mind too, like my Maui house, where that was always intended to be a flip, and then suddenly, like, we're just seeing the market help us out a little bit. Both me and my partner, on that property, were like, hey, our situation, we don't really need to sell. And then that property, we ended up turning into a different and keeping that long term. And so, and then we have another property that we've decided to keep that we're going to be adding to the back unit. But again, things have changed, and then we see, okay, if we can refinance and get a construction type of rehab, why not build on that one if we're going to keep it anyway? And so there's just additional plays that can happen to extract more value out of current deals that you have, and that's exactly what you did.
Imagine Leka just walking into the city office like, hey, can I subdivide my property? Like just straight up.
Wasn't there like
I believe the question was.
Wasn't there something like that happened? You went into the office and then they told you something that you were almost going to leave or something?
Yes. So I believe the question was, what is a subdivision? I had no idea. I just saw my neighbor's plaque and I was like, whoa, like that just sounds important. Can I do that on mine? My lot is a little bit larger than theirs. And that's really what started the process. So I actually went to the city, and the city looked at my lot and said, look, there's no sewer, there's no utilities. So to bring in sewer is going to cost you $500K. So really you can do it, but you're going to end up spending more money than you'll make. And I was like, shoot, that's really sad. So I gathered up all my paperwork. I was heading out. Suddenly the guy from inside comes up behind us and says, hey, come back here. I think I have a solution. And I was like, what? So the lot directly behind mine was a long plat. So mine was a short plat, which means under 4 units. The lot behind mine was a long plat, which meant anything 4 units and up. And it was Toll Brothers, one of the most premium builders in our market. They were subdividing that lot into a 30-unit long plat. And they were bringing all of the utilities. So all I had to do is tap into theirs.
So they're already running the main line. You just now need to tap into their existing line. They already are spending the $500K on their 30 units.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it now.
No. So that was really cool, because then my sewer costs went from $500K to like $25K or $30K, right? So ended up just, going that direction. And finally I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I can actually do this. And that's what helped me get started on the process.
Awesome. See,
I have a question in here from the audience, and I think that goes great with what you're talking about now, because, obviously, being a woman in the industry, you're dealing with contractors, you're dealing with subdivisions, you're dealing with some really big, construction terms, right? You're tapping into main sewer lines. Like, right. How are you able to, compete or, survive and thrive in a market like this that's, challenging for some women, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've always been someone that when I see a problem, I tackle it. I think this is a people's business more than anything else. So if you have the right people, then you can really solve big problems. And so I would see a problem, I would go to my network and be like, how do I solve this? And sure enough, someone knew how to solve it. And they would send me the right resources, they would send me people, and then I was able to solve it. I helped build a hard money lending company with, our good friend Charles and Shreyas. It's called Certain Lending, and I actually am launching my own loan program with them next week. So I'm going to have my own hard money lending program called Loans by Leka. And it's cool to see that also grow and come about, because it's because of that lending company that was able to finance a few of my crazy deals that I was even able to do these kinds of deals. So someone asked me questions about how do I fund my deals, right? It's all through hard money lenders. It's through raising private capital. It's whenever there's a conventional loan that doesn't work, I don't stop there. I go and look at DSCR loans, portfolio loans, private lenders, hard money lenders.
Somebody in your network can help you, right? It might not be the first person. You might have to go to 2 people, might have to go to 3 people. I love that. Can you just break down real quick? I know the question was about how you're funding, and you mentioned you'll use a hard money and then a private. Can you just quickly kind of go over the differences between those and how you're maybe able to source those? I know you mentioned certain lending. They're a lender that Alex and I have used on plenty of our transactions as well. So the hard money is obviously the bigger loan, but then you're able to get what, a second position mortgage through a private money lender to continue to do this. And I think that's the question about how you're able to scale, right? Without necessarily using just your own money.
Yeah. So just to give you guys a little bit of a background on my area, I am in Seattle, and an average deal in my market costs $1 million. And if I'm doing 10 of those deals, like I literally don't have the money to finance all of them. So what I do is when I buy a deal, I have a hard money lender that lends up to 70 or 85% LTC. And then for the rest, I bring in a private lender who is, it could be any of you. Say you have 100 grand, you're like, I really want to shadow Leka on a deal. I'm like, okay, come along. You can be like, I could just let you shadow, but then you're not going to be as vested. So if you are actually invested in the deal and you stand to make some amount of money, then you are going to take your job very seriously. So then I let you come, walk the house with me, meet my contractors, walk through it, make big decisions, like should we put a
Those
beam?
big decisions you're making, right? Like, hey, why am I doing this versus that?
Why am I opening up this wall? Am I going to create a master suite? Why am I not putting a bedroom in the basement? Like, what constitutes these decisions? Why am I only spending 125K on the rehab versus putting in 185K and pushing the price more? Market timing. Like, there's so many different decisions that are being made on a project that someone that shadows can really see all those decisions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So then I have private lenders that help with those, the bridge financing. And also I have brokers that help on the commercial deals, right? Like they work with 40 other lenders, each lender specializing in a different kind of lending program. So anything I need, someone's quickly there to figure that out for me.
And they already have those relationships with those 40 other lenders, so they can say, hey, you know what, Leka needs this specific, type of packaging. Let's go to these people that we already know that can handle that for her.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Is there any other questions that we didn't answer yet? And also anything else? I know Leka kind of has a hard stop everybody around I think 3:50 p.m. So we're gonna let her go in a little bit. So we got her for a couple of more minutes. If anybody has any more questions, let's make sure we get them right now. Otherwise, I still have some questions that I'd love to ask Leka.
Yeah, I think we've had some great questions coming in, and obviously everybody's pretty excited. I think people have been, shocked to hear about some of your successes. I know there's one question that came in the Q&A, which is, right now down here in California, for example, we're having some issues with the tenants. Owning a portfolio of, say, 40 properties, are you having any issues with tenants and maybe not paying rent? What's that kind of look like, and how are you handling that?
Oh my God, I've had my share of tenant issues. We are a tenant-friendly state, first of all. So, we have eviction moratoriums and all kinds of tenant laws in place. So yes, absolutely. I just fixed up a fourplex, and when I fix up properties, I'm going into it. This is bad, and I do not recommend you do this, but I go into fixing up a property from my single family flip mindset, not from, oh, this has to be a tenant-proof mindset. At least I hadn't done that till this one incident. So I fixed up this fourplex to the nines, quartz countertops, shaker cabinets, like all of the
high fashion Leka, right?
Absolutely,
this is looking beautiful.
I just made it look stunning. Okay. So then I hired a property manager who came highly recommended, and they were managing my neighbor's property. So they were like, yeah, we're happy to take on yours as well. They were the most negligent property managers I have ever hired. And they ended up putting 4 tenants in my units, each of them with one bad credit score than the other. And this was a large company. And for them to have performed so badly is just a shocker. So then I fired them, and I put my property manager back on this property, and he started to reach out to my tenants, and then tells me that 3 out of my 4 tenants weren't paying. This is in the middle of COVID. There's an eviction moratorium. There's literally nothing we could do. So he started working with the city. The city did pay us back a significant amount of money. But then that 4th unit, those guys would not pay. They wouldn't leave. They were just making our life hell. So then when he finally got them, or he finally walked through the property. No, they didn't let him walk through the property. They said that they were going to be out on a Friday, so they left. And then on Saturday, when he walked the property, he sent me photos and I literally cried. All that quartz countertop was full of mold. The carpet that I had just installed was like literally rotting in places. They had dropped water, spilled liquids, and it was just nasty. They had pet hair everywhere, everywhere. They were growing stuff in my beautiful ceramic sinks. Like literally there was like stuff coming out of it. It was disgusting. And I had to then hire a contractor to remodel the whole unit for another 12K.
Wow.
Right? So I'm like, yeah, so there's tenant problems, but here's the thing. I bought the property for 625, fixed it up for 185, it appraised for 1.2. And I did a cash out refinance at 850, paid off all my debt of 800, took 50K home, and today I make about $3,000 of positive cash flow. So are those little pains worth it? Yeah, in the long run, for sure. And real estate,
Lessons though, now you learn that lesson. Are you ever going to remodel that multifamily house like that again? Probably not, right? Maybe a little
I
bit
would
more
use
stamp-proof.
LVP, I would do the things differently. Would they look good? Yeah, they'd still look pretty good.
I love
Oh
it.
my
I love
God,
it. And
that's
some
so-
people, I mean, like that could happen to them, right? And that could, maybe change their mindset on, renting to long-term tenants. But for you, it's,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? That's a lesson. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to learn from it and be better from it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's real quickly, current market. What are you doing to adjust? What are you doing to change things up? How are you seeing things regarding your business and how are you pivoting, if at all? We'd love to get that before, kind of as your last take, because I think it's important right now. People want to know currently, what are you doing?
Okay. I am underwriting my deals way differently. It is an ever-changing market. I just told my team that we should stop buying flips because we don't know where here's the thing, right? In my market, speaking just to my market, the Seattle market, we have very, very low supply. We still have very low supply. The price of our homes are significantly higher than the rest of the country. And at a high interest rate of 6 to 7%, that could crush someone. Even if they just wanted to buy a million three house, right? So buyers have stalled. But the sad thing is if they wait till January, February, interest rates are going to be even higher, 7, 8%, right? And because of how low supply is already, we know that supply is going to shrink up even more because all the people that own homes in our area, in the country, we did an analysis and 97% of people in the country own their home for less than 3%. Now, those people, unless they absolutely have to, are not going to sell their home, right? So that basically means all that the supply is out of the market. Now, that remaining supply, we do have still strong demand because I'm still seeing properties get 2 or 3 offers. Do we need to adjust pricing to basically make it so that the buyers can actually buy these properties? Yes. So like there's some properties where if I had sold it in March of this year, I would have made 300K profit. Now I can maybe make 150. Is it a good deal? Yes, still a very good deal. So I would say, and then that's one part of the business, right? For my buy and hold, because I BRRRR properties, I still have to go and buy it at a low rate.
That's the first part of the BRRRR, right? You have to buy it at a discount, or the rest of it just doesn't work out.
Have to buy right. But the other good news for you guys is when a market is going into recession or there's uncertainty, even though people stop buying properties, people are still going to rent. And that is taking our rental market up pretty significantly higher. So like I bought a multifamily that I'm fixing up right now. And I thought that the multifamily could rent for about 20 grand a month. When we're actually done, it's going to rent for 24 to 26 grand a month. And so that's a significant amount of rent increase. because people don't have a place to live, they have to rent, right? And so just look at it in the lens of, okay, how can I buy these properties, make the interest rates work where I can still rent it out and make a good cash flow? And those are the only projects that I'm buying. The other big piece is seller financing. And here's a plug for my meetup. So next week, I'm actually interviewing a 23-year-old who has completely bought his portfolio through seller financing. And he has literally not put any money into it, has never used hard money funds, and has just amassed a killer portfolio also in my market. So we'll teach you a thing or two about seller financing. So seller financing, especially right now, if you can assume sellers loans, if you can find these properties where, you know, sellers are like, okay, look, you just give us a large down payment and we let you assume our loan. Those are some.
And remember, those people probably have a 3% or less loan, right? If what you're like 90% of the market has those loans. So you're assuming a great set of terms.
Yeah, it's a great set of terms. And most of these sellers have these loans for a 4 or 5 year loan term left remaining on their lending. So if you assume this and in 5 years want to refinance it at a lower rate or sell it at that point, you're going to be winning. So look for those loans.
Awesome. Well, Leka, I know you got to kind of get running, so we want to respect your time. I think you've just been super valuable, engaging guest. You know, I love you. You're a great friend and appreciate you sharing stuff with the audience here. But everybody thank Leka. I think if she really gets to go into her next meeting, she guys could go make another $1 million times.
Okay, and if you guys, I'm so sorry. Like I know Adriana is asking a question. If you guys have questions, hit me up on Instagram and I will answer all your questions. No problem.
I put her Instagram in the chat and so did Will right now. So they'll reach out to you, they'll shoot you a follow. But you can get going. We're gonna still kind of talk about some of the learnings you had on the interview and then kind of wrap this up, okay?
Alex and Will, love you guys. Love you so much. It was great seeing you last week. And Alex, anytime, man. Love you.
Peace.
Thank you so much, Leka. We'll see you soon, all right?
See you guys. Bye.
Cool, guys. So I know that was incredible. Obviously, getting to hear from Leka. She's a boss babe out there, absolutely just crushing it up in the Seattle market, and truly appreciative of her time. You know, like Alex said, like $1 million on one deal. Like, how many investors do you know personally that you can say like, hey, you know what, this person made $1 million on that deal? Like that's a big number. You know, we talk about 6-figure profits, you know, but this is a 7-figure project that took her 4 years, that a lot of people might not have had the bandwidth, the time, the knowledge, or the willing to learn, you know, the things that she had to learn. So I thought that was a really cool story that she was able to kind of break down for us. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I love it, man. Does anybody else have any other questions or any thoughts about her? I know that she dropped a bunch of gems, so you know, happy to answer questions, but it's been an absolute pleasure knowing her for like these 3 to 4 years. I call her whenever I have some high level questions, especially rehab stuff.
Yeah, and I'll answer a couple quick questions that came in through the chat. So Alex, Alexandra, does she invest in other markets? No, that's what she was kind of saying at the beginning, is she really does just invest in Seattle. That's her kind of home market, and she has 3 or 4, you know, people that really just provide her information in those markets. And that's something that we, you know, similar with Alex and I, right? Like we really invest in, you know, Los Angeles, core Los Angeles, Antelope Valley. We've dabbled in a couple other markets, but you know, really we invest in those areas because we know them like the back of our hand.
Yeah, I do recall she bought a triplex in Tampa, and then when I met her, we talked. She's like, "Yeah, man, it's been such a headache owning that triplex. Like, I'm gonna sell it." So you know, there's a lot of people do out-of-state investing and manage it remotely, but you know, there's also, I think, equally as many people that say I'd rather just invest local at home, and then so I think it's just not a one-size-fits-all, but you know, you're definitely gonna have a learning curve because every market is different. Even within the same like metro area, there's many pockets of real estate, and they all don't perform the same. But yeah, man, I think how you doing, Javier? I know Alexander's coming back on. Adriano, I remember we met at the meetup. Edward's here. What's up, everybody? Anybody have any last kind of couple questions?
Yeah, anybody with any last minute feedback? You know, again, I think that was a really cool guest we had on there. Anybody with any last words or last comments about what she's kind of doing up there? again, like we said, the Pacific Northwest, Alex, very similar price points down here in LA, right? Like $1 million or more for some of their base entry homes. Like it's not a market to
Yeah,
joke
it's
around
it's
about.
expensive. It's a diverse market. I've been up there to Seattle 3 times, and I'm a big fan of the market. I thought I wasn't, but once I got there and saw it, I mean, it's a lot to do, but it definitely is a more tenant friendly and very expensive, very high tech. So it's not cheap to live there. That's for sure.
Hope everyone's doing good in this chat. Good seeing everyone. Thank you guys as usual. Good seeing you guys. You're always traveling, so I always just say safe travels, assuming you're going somewhere.
Well, I'm in Hollywood a lot more lately. I'm going to be staying in LA more often, so I'll be spending about 2/3 of my time now in LA, either in Hollywood or Lancaster. But good to see you too, bud. We should get
Nice,
together.
very
soon.
nice.
I missed
Absolutely.
your brother over there in Maui. It just wasn't a good. I just didn't have a lot of time. I wasn't able to grab.
He's
lunch.
actually visiting in a month, so he'll be back here.
Oh, he will. Okay.
He's gonna come here in a month. So
Yeah, man. Let's grab some dinner or something.
absolutely.
Good stuff. Yeah, I gotta get running a little bit too, but man, I love her story, man. Just she's so resourceful.
Yeah, I think it was cool to hear how she, came from India, right? So she had, not as much, Los Angeles, not as much Seattle, not as much, West Coast experience as maybe some of us. And like walking into that office and just being like, what is a subdivision? I mean, like, could you imagine, just being that humble and that willing to learn that you're going to go into that city office and just ask that question, like that's big.
Yeah, one of the big things too, she taught me about managing contractors. She's like, yeah, you gotta let them make money, but they can't just make crazy amounts of money. So, he's maybe gonna make a little bit more money on the bathrooms and let him make his money on that. But it's not okay for him to make a ton of money on every single part of the project that he's, helping you on. So, there's a lot of, that experience that you get managing contractors when you're flipping at a high level, that kind of lessons that I learned from her. And we try to implement everything we do, even though we don't flip high end. We do definitely flip a lot. So, just kind of, we have to work with a lot of contractors. So it takes a lot of tact, dealing with so many contractors, because we're dealing with it right now, right? We have a contractor that doesn't want to send us pictures on the property because he hasn't got his last payout. And we're just like, we're going to pay you. We pay you on every other thing that we did. Why would we not pay you? And we're battling that right now. So
I have a quick fun story actually that relates to today's call.
Sure.
She has those webinars she does every so often, I believe, every month.
Mhm.
And
Her
this
next
just
one's
shows
coming up
how
here in a couple of days, she said, with a 24-year-old.
correct. So there's this just shows that how being 1 degree separation away from someone can make a world of difference. I was on one of those calls and Brandon Turner was a guest. She does breakout rooms, which it's like 200 people, 400 people, whatever it was on that call, and you break out into rooms of like 6 random people to network. My luck, I'm on the call and breakout room with Brandon Turner. A little bit of starstruck moment, and I'm like, what are the odds of this? But it's like, one thing I've been kind of like drilled into recently, and I've been talking to some buddies, is put yourself 1 degree or 2 degree separation from people you want to meet, and you'll never, when you least expect it, that person might walk through the door. We go to Alex's meetup. Why? Because not only see Alex, but Alex is running around. He's doing a bunch of stuff. He's one person. You're going to meet other people that are amazing, valuable resources that you didn't know Alex might have known. Like Alex has his niche, Will, and you guys do your thing, in your market. But you never know who you're going to meet, walks through that door, run into on a Zoom. I've met amazing people here on the Zooms and through Alex's and Will, what they've built. So definitely, you never know. Single Zoom call.
Did you ask Brandon a question, or did you get to talk to him on that?
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
was
curious.
crazy. I was like, this is such a mind-boggling thing. Like, you go from hearing him on podcasts for years, and all of a sudden you're like arm's length, 6 other people. Like, you're never gonna get that value unless you pay a lot of money for it or you personally know him, which I didn't either.
Yeah, I can't tell how many times people were like, "Oh, hey, bro, you think you can introduce me to, Brandon Turner?" I'm like, bro, I just can't just do an intro text. Like, it doesn't really work that way. These higher level relationships operate in a different level. You can't you can't lean on them. You got to give, and because they're already giving you so much, like all you got to do is give. And but the times that it's the right situations happen, that I have been able to introduce them to other people, but it has to be within context. It can't be like out of left field,
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a big thing is like, let's say someone is doing storage units and they come asking you and you're like, that's not my niche. And one of your high level storage unit guys, you're like, oh, hey, this person brought me this. You connect them. Now everyone's feeding off of this thing because of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just how this business works. Like, you can know as much as you can, but if you don't know the right people, I think it makes it much more difficult.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Edward. We appreciate the support. And
I was gonna say that,
It's a-
you know, relationships do matter. I think Leka made a great point of that. She seeks out people that, you know, have helped her along each step of the way. And I think that's why a lot of you guys are here in this call is, you know, trying to find, you know, those mentors or those people that can kind of help you out and guide you. So I know we're appreciative of all your time and look forward to seeing you guys here next week on our next call. And I think we should have an announcement coming up here this week or next week, Alex, about our next meetup. So keep an eye out for that, you local LA guys and gals, and we'll see you guys out here, all right?
all right, see ya. Keep out there deal making. Let's go.
Thank you,
See you on the
guys.
flip side. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thank you,
one.
guys.
Thank you for the
See you
value.
guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.